I am Curran Bhatia, lucky enough to be talking to, well, two legends in the game. First of all, we have former middleweight champion Sergio Martinez. It's an absolute honor to speak with Sergio. And just neck and neck in terms of accomplishment, we have Jerry Olaya serving as interpreter here. Jerry, of course, with HBO for so many years, ESPN, so many other outlets. Jerry, it's an honor to have you do it on this interview with me as well. So thank you also. Sergio, first of all, we'll start with, of course, we know about the coronavirus going on. Everyone is dealing with this. Where are you right now? How are you holding up? Is everything okay with your family? How are things right now?
Yo estoy en Madrid.
First of all, I'm in Madrid. I'm at home. I live here in Madrid now for some 18 years now. In this home, I live specifically since 2012, particularly, but I'm very well in Madrid. I'm very comfortable. And truthfully, my situation doesn't change much for me because remember when I was boxing, I would have my training camps. I would be isolated from everyone. So it's the same situation here. I don't go out. I just go out basically every 10 days to go shopping for the essentials. And that's basically it. That's the only thing I go out for.
And I'm glad to hear that you're safe. So now in the boxing ring, we last saw you against Miguel Cotto. That was in 2014. And we know now that you, at 45 years old, have decided to come back to boxing. So why have you decided to come back? And what are people saying to you? Because obviously at 45 years old, it can be risky to come back into the boxing ring. So tell us why you're coming back and what's the plan to come back?
Well, my return, I've been planning for about 2 years. I was 43 when I started planning about this return. You know, obviously now when you're 43, 45, age matters. But the idea initially was to come back and do a fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. because I felt that there are great ties between us. Basically, we had a great fight. And also, because of that, something for me is very important, apart from the fight, apart from that great fight, is that he was taken hold of by depression, alcohol, and drugs, and his life kind of collapsed, per se. So my idea was, what about if Junior and I, as colleagues, help each other out, per se? It doesn't mean that we are friends. We don't need to be friends. But as colleagues, we each have needs. So let's have a fight, let's say, anywhere from here to 6-8 months in this timeline. But obviously, with this timeline, 6 to 8 months, Junior has to do things correctly. Leave drugs, leave alcohol behind, leave that bad lifestyle behind. And maybe that is something that is able to fix the rest of his life and is something that he can change his habits. And so that's one thing. And that could be a decisive moment for Junior. But also it could be something very decisive for me and a turning point for me. Because no matter what happens in the fight, you know, if the fight is great, then he can lose, he could win, but his life could change. And so for me, that can be something fantastic because I want to be a part of an extraordinary adventure.
And so first of all, you've said that in your comeback, I believe there's a different opponent that you would take first before Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Is that correct? Is that the plan, that you'll have a tune-up fight and then fight Chavez? And also, what do you feel? I understand your point about wanting to give him something, but what do you feel like you have to prove? You were winning that fight. It seemed like for the first 11 rounds, you were almost untouchable. Obviously, in the 12th round, I was there live. It was one of the loudest arenas I've ever seen. With 1:30, he knocked you down. But you still got up and you won that fight. So what do you feel like you have left to prove against Chavez Jr.?
Well, after the fight that we had with Junior in November, I was operated on the right knee. The operation didn't come out well. I spent 2 years that was very, very affected by this operation. And at the long run, I started using corticoids and morphine to see if I could improve my situation. The medicine affected me, the morphine affected my body, the corticoid affected my body also, these medicines. And so I had a very, very bad phase of my life. One day the surgeon told me, he said, if we don't operate you, within 5 hours, we might have to amputate your leg. And if we don't do that, in 24 hours, you could be dead. So I lived through those things. And having overcome those things, I'm not talking about boxing anymore. I'm talking about life itself. Having overcome those things, thanks to some thermal waters that I went to in Argentina that helped me also. This gave me a challenge. I love challenges. And so having a fight with Chavez Jr., after having suffered what I did, after being in bedridden for months on crutches, that is an actual challenge. For me, the challenge is to train day by day and feel happy beyond results, beyond what could be the result on the fight with Chavez Jr. I don't want a result per se against Chavez Jr., but for me is to enjoy life daily, enjoy the little things in life. Before I wanted something extraordinary. Today, I want to live life, live extraordinarily my day-to-day life.
And that's great that you're challenging yourself to physically to get back in the ring after everything that you've overcome. What are people in your inner circle saying about this comeback? Do you have a new team around you? For a long time, Samson Lukowicz was your manager. You had a set of trainers. Is there a new group around you? And what are people saying around you? Are they encouraging you to continue, or are people saying, hey, you're 45 years old, you have your health, maybe you shouldn't take this comeback?
En un principio no quería ninguno.
First of all, no one at the beginning wanted to take this undertaking with me. But I started to train in a new gym with a new team. And little by little, they saw that my evolution was fantastic. It was evolving phenomenally. My physical conditioning was improving considerably. I got to the gym after filming a movie, and I weighed 100 pounds when I got into the gym after the movie. And then after that, after a great motivation that I had, after my work ethic and all of that, I weighed 80 kilos at that moment. So with 80 kilos, I started doing things that they saw, and they thought that I could do great things in boxing once again. And so slowly the team came back. Miguel de Pablos came back. Raquel Bordon, my doctor, was with me. My new trainer, Agustin Rodriguez. And then new team in terms of trainer, new doctor also that is with me and with the team now, and that they're working with me all the time. So I don't have these physical problems anymore, and I'm very happy, and they are very happy to see the evolution and to see how serious I was in this undertaking.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you are taking, that you are healthy now, and that you are able to physically do this comeback. You mentioned your knee problems, and obviously they were well documented in your career. A few years after Chavez Jr., we know you had the big matchup against Miguel Cotto. That was in June of 2014. Now, in that fight, we thought that was going to be a 50-50 fight. Unfortunately, your legs did not hold up. You went down 3 times in the first round. Did you know that the leg was going to be that much of an issue coming into the fight, and you took the fight anyway? Or did you think that you were healthy, and then you realized in round 1 that was not the case against Miguel Cotto?
For me, I thought that I could always win the fight, no matter the problems that were developing and growing, the pains, those pains to the knee. But, I never thought that those would be reasons to suspend a fight. And I never thought I would lose, truthfully. Never crossed my mind. But, I don't think that was the reason why I lost. I simply lost because Cotto was better, or at least that specific night, he was better than I.
And now that you are 45 years old, I know you're not retiring, but do you ever take a moment to look back at what you achieved in boxing, and also specifically your style of boxing? I think you had one of the most unique styles in boxing that we've seen. Traditionally, boxers first of all, you're a southpaw, but traditionally boxers fight with their hands up. You fought with your hands down. Boxers are taught to move forward. You moved backwards. No one knew which way you were going backwards, how far you were going backwards. It was a very unique style, fighting with your hands down, looking for the big looping overhand left. Do you take pride in fighting in such a unique way, and all this success that you had doing it your way in your style?
Fue un estilo muy particular el que tuve. Y
Well,
si bien traté de mirar y de
you know, one of those things with my style was very unique. Even though I had some examples like Muhammad Ali or Pernell Whitaker or Oscar De La Hoya,
nunca llegué a
for me it was a unique style. I was never similar to them because I had my own style. But that was since the beginning of my career, basically. I had that style. And I always felt that it was very effective. And that's why I never needed to change. You know, today at 45, one of the things that I take note of is that I have much more power than before, than when I was a champ. And I just can't understand how I was a champ before without knowing. Today I know how to punch. Before I didn't know how to punch. I had lots of speed. I was very athletic, and that's why I was a champion. But today I know how to punch. I punch much harder than before. And today I use up much less energy than before to do the exact same thing, to get the same results. So I think those are the differences that you will see. And it's also knowledge, obviously. I'm not retired. You know, I'm close to it, but I am not retired.
And you started your great career in 1997. You're still active, as you pointed out. When you look back at all the amazing fights you have, what is the moment that stuck out to you as the top? We talked about getting up in the 12th round versus Chavez. You came to America to fight Kelly Pavlik and dethroned him and became the middleweight champion of the world. There's, of course, the Paul Williams knockout in your rematch. The first fight was very close. In the second fight, you left absolutely no doubt. I was there live. In the second round, you had the big overhand looping left, and you knocked him out cold. It's one of the most spectacular knockouts in boxing history, if not the most spectacular. When you look back at your great career, what is the top moment that stands out to you as the highest achievement? And also, are there any regrets about your career, anything that you would have done differently?
Para mí, una de las claves, o sea, una de mis peleas clave,
my key fights and those that are most important for me, in terms of personal achievements, June 21, 2003, fight in Manchester, England, against an opponent called Richard Williams for the title, the IBO title. And for me, that was the most important fight for my life, not in my career, but my life. Why? Because a week before, I was in church, hungry, begging for food. And then that day, I was living the dream and raising the belt of the IBO. So after that, we'll say the Kelly Pavlik fight was fundamental in my career. The fight, the rematch against Paul Williams, and also the fight against Zinzito. I think those were the fights that I see with most, that I hold most dear.
And just to close it out, just a few more questions. So you mentioned that you want to give Chavez Jr. the opportunity. You're coming back. What will be the eventual goal for you? What will have to happen for you to say, okay, now it's time for me to retire? Do you want to take a go at becoming one of the oldest champions? We know George Foreman won at 46 years old. That was at heavyweight, of course. Bernard Hopkins won and it was fighting into his 50s. What is your goal right now? And also, what are you doing outside of boxing? We know you have a diverse history. You were a model, a soccer player. You did a lot of things. Outside of boxing, what will you do post-career?
Bueno, con respecto a la primera parte,
for me, I will be in boxing as long as I enjoy the sport as I enjoy it now, above and beyond the results. Now, obviously, if I have a first fight and I'm blown away and I lose very badly and the punches hurt and I don't enjoy it, I won't have a fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. But I'm optimistic and I think things will turn out well. And we'll see. My goal, per se, currently today, is a fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. But for me, I want to enjoy every day of training without pressure, without the pressure and without great goals, per se. My great goal today is to enjoy it. And then beyond that, what I'll dedicate myself to, I think I'll be sure, is to continue my motivational speaking, my life coaching, that's what they call it. I go to neighborhoods that are very poor, where people are very needy. I go to schools to talk about bullying. I go to associations, institutes where women go who have been abused. And those are the types of things that I want to do, help people who are in need.
And just playing off of that, final question for you. I was in Argentina for your comeback fight against Martin Murray. It was a full arena of supporters. They were so pumped when you won that they actually came into the ring and broke the ring. There was that many fans and supporters. So you have fans in Argentina, you're in Spain now, so you have a lot of supporters there. You have fans around the world. What would be your final message to all your fans and supporters, not only about you and your comeback, but also obviously everyone is going through the situation right now with the global pandemic. It's tough times for everyone. So what would be your final message for your fans and supporters?
Well,
above all, I will tell people that you can achieve whatever you want. You can achieve your goals with your sacrifice, with your fight, that you obtain your goals that way. That life is a battle. But you have to fight, you have to sacrifice, you fall, you lose, as I lost against Cotto. You win, like I won against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., after having suffered incredibly in the last round. Sometimes you win easily, like the fight against Paul Williams, rather quickly. But you will always need to look for those new goals, look for those new fights, per se, not only in boxing, but in life. Look for those challenges, those new challenges. I now, at 45 years of age, what I'm doing makes me happy. It makes me happy because what I do is something that I love and that I share with lots of people that I love. And that's it. That's basically it.
Well, I'm certainly motivated. Sergio Martinez, I want to thank you so much for the time. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Jerry Olaya serving as our interpreter. Thank you so much. Sergio, I really, really appreciate you breaking it down, telling us about your comeback. Best of luck to you in the ring, and I will certainly be watching. I'm sure a lot of people will be watching your comeback. Good luck to you, and stay safe.
Thank you very much. The pleasure was absolutely mine, and hopefully we get to see each other soon. Thank you very much.